What's going on, everybody? You're listening to Point2Point NHL Recap Show, Season 2, Episode 39. I'm Pascal Pryor, joined by Mark Haverlack. Mark, how are you doing today, dude?
Dude, not too bad today. Obviously, I know if you guys don't know, Pascal and I work at the same company, but in different departments. We actually had CTV News come to our work today and they interviewed a couple of us, and they interviewed me. I didn't end up getting aired, dude. I'm a little bit cheesed. I wish they would have thrown in at least like a 5 or 10 5 or 10 seconds segment of something I said, but. You know, I got listed in the article, so I can't really complain too much. And it was a pretty fun experience, to be quite honest. I've never really like been on TV or anything like that before, been around it. So, I mean, I know we work in broadcasting, but it is a little bit different because we're in the back end of it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, dude, I mean, my day was a little bit different today, a little bit more exciting, I guess. I was kind of shitting my pants going into it a little bit, but I mean, I thought it went all right.
Yeah, no, I think it went pretty good too. I was reading up on the article. I know they butchered the spelling of your name. I found that pretty funny. You went from wanting a 5 or 10 second clip in the video to them not even spelling your name right in the article. So it might have been a rough day in that sense for you, but it's all right, dude. You'll get your screen time here, and you'll get your clicks here. But yeah, it is pretty cool. Like we're gonna be getting the OHL and QMJHL at work now. So like for you already watch a lot of juniors. I try to watch juniors when I can and stuff. But now that like I'm literally getting paid for work for it, I'll be able to pay even more attention to these prospects and in the junior levels. Let's get right into our deep dive for today, though. We're gonna start off with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They made most of their moves at the trade deadline last year, and so far this offseason, they haven't really been too busy with that much turnover within their team. They did have 8 picks at this year's draft, though, so let's start off by talking about that. Mark, how do you think Tampa kind of made out at the draft?
I knew you were going to say that about them not really doing too many moves, and I was going to make a joke because last week you said it about LA, and they did, but you're right, man. Tampa literally, Tampa did like depth. That's it, right? So yeah, I mean, with Tampa Bay's draft, obviously we know they love to trade these first round picks. They don't have. I don't think they have one till like, what is it, 2028 maybe at this point. But they did have a pick in the second round this year. Ethan Zada played with the Niagara Ice Dogs this year. He's kind of like more of like a two-way guy. I think he more projects of being like kind of like a fourth line center, but I think he does have like a pretty good shot the way he plays that he could potentially fill that role for Tampa Bay down the road, or maybe it's someone else he could be involved in a trade. You never really know. Their next pick was in the 4th round, the overager Benjamin Rutinainen. He had like pretty good production in Liga this year, but I mean, he is a double overager. So, I mean, I kind of like to look at it as like if they had drafted him like 2 years ago in his draft year, like how would the development path look at this point? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's how you can kind of judge overagers in draft. I mean, it is pretty solid production, but I don't know. He's a bit of a smaller guy. He's not very big. I just don't really think he's going to kind of translate over to the NHL eventually. Aiden Foster played in the WHL this year. Honestly, nothing really about his game impresses me too much besides like he's 6'2" and he's more of like an enforcer type player, so maybe he does get a shot, but I just don't really think he has like much offensive upside. Everett Baldwin played at the U.S. National Development Program this year and a little bit in the USHL, kind of more of like a defensive defenseman. He's not very big either. I don't really think he's got much of an NHL future. I'm not really too familiar with their 2 next picks, Roman Lutsev and Grant Spada. Marco Magnoza, their first pick in the 7th round, is an overage forward from Sioux in the OHL. I mean, he had pretty good production, like 85 points in 58 games, but I don't really think that's like that nuts, to be quite honest with you. I think like it'd be a lot more impressive to me if he was putting up like triple digits. I feel like at that point, like to get drafted. And then their last pick of the draft was a goalie, Caleb Heil. I actually am like pretty familiar with him. He's played in the USHL the last 3 years. He didn't really play on like behind a great defense last year, despite like them being a good team, like his .896 save percentage. But I think Tampa just saw more of like his like raw game, and like he actually was at the USA Halinka goalie going into his draft year, and I thought he was like super impressive. And he didn't really have great numbers in his draft year and didn't get drafted, so I don't really mind that pick in the 7th round. I feel like a decent amount of teams like kind of take overage goalies like late on anyway, so I don't really mind the risk in that aspect. I mean, their draft overall, like I wouldn't say I'm like like that impressed by it. I mean, but it's also like they didn't really have the picks to do a lot either. But I mean, I kind of like the Ethan Zotta pick, to be quite honest.
Yeah, for me, when I look at their draft, like for a team that is in kind of the win now mode, I think they made out pretty well at the draft. Like, as you mentioned, they don't really have those high end picks, with their earliest pick being in the second round, late in the second round. But I think they did a good job at getting a decent amount of volume here, where it's like, hey, maybe one of these guys pans out a little bit, where it's like we can use them as trade bait, or maybe one of them makes the NHL within 2 years, right? So I think they did a good job there, just getting a volume of players in. Of course, like none of these guys are first round picks or early second round picks, where it's like more household names maybe as prospects. But I think they're doing a good job here, where it's like, hey, hopefully one of these guys pans out and we can maybe use them for something here.
I will say too, like, sorry, I just want to say too. Well, I mean, you can transition to that, like with the grade. You were going to ask me. Sorry to interrupt you there, but like with Ethan Zotta, like the one thing I liked about him is like he really got better as the season went along. Like in October or November, if you told me like Ethan Zotta was going to go 56 overall, I'd be like, probably not. But like he continued, like he was under a point per game, but like he definitely was playing a lot better in like the second half of the season. So like I like that pick a lot for Tampa. I just think because there isn't a lot of like quality or like you know what I mean? Like, and there's like there is quantity, but it's not like great quantity. Like I'm gonna go with like a B minus, I think.
B minus. See,
Yeah.
I was thinking around there. I don't think it's like, for where they're at in their kind of team trajectory. I think a C plus is too harsh. I think anything higher than a B is too high. I'm gonna stick with you and give them a B minus here for what they did at the draft. Let's take a look at their lineup now. As I mentioned earlier, Mark, not a whole lot of turnover here for the Tampa Bay Lightning this offseason. How are you kind of feeling about their lineup going into the season?
I feel like a lot of people are kind of, I don't want to say write them off, because I don't think that. I don't think that a lot of people are thinking that, but I don't know if a lot of people are taking them as like a serious contender still. You know what I mean? Because it has been 3 straight first round exits for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And look, 2 of them, it's the defending Stanley Cup champions. But like, let's be real, like the playoffs have not really been going Tampa Bay's way as of recent, right? But I will say, like, they were still a very impressive team in the regular season, right?
Yep.
And like they have got, I think what people don't understand is like they've got like multiple stars on their team, right? Still, which a lot of teams don't have. And like the one thing that I will say that like Vasilevsky had a bit of a down year the year before. Like he had the whole back issue where he missed time, then he played a ton, didn't look great in the playoffs. It was phenomenal last year, bro. And I don't think enough people are talking about it, is because other years, like Vasi's phenomenal in the season, and then he goes on a playoff run, right? And he's like kind of the story of the league, but he's been struggling the last couple of playoff runs. Like a lot of people can't deny that, right? But he's back in form. Like it's like that just helps as it is, and I think he's going to continue doing that. To be honest with you, dude, like they were like one of the best defensive teams in the regular season last year. They improved a ton. They had Jeff Blashill the year before, and I don't know if you saw the quote Sergachev had about it, that Blashill came in and changed their whole defensive structure, and it kind of fucked up the way Sergachev and a lot of the team played. Well, I mean, they changed that last year, and they were really good, right? I honestly think that there's a possibility that they can win the division.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, dude.
And I think right now I might be choosing them to win the division, because I think there are a very good regular season team. I will say I think they are still kind of in that contender status for me, but I think they have a lot more holes than they did when they were kind of legit going to cup finals and winning them.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I look at them, I think they could easily win this division. And for me, the most interesting thing that I'm kind of keeping an eye on with this team is, for the first time in more recently, like you're gonna have some younger players getting opportunities in this lineup, right? Like Jacob Pelletier, we all know, like I'm a Flames fan, right? Like I'm pretty familiar with them. Unfortunately, it didn't work out there. Didn't really work out in Philadelphia for him, but there is still some upside. And for Tampa to go out, get him on a 3-year deal, making just under 800K, it's like that's a very high risk, low reward kind of scenario there for Jacob Pelletier with the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? Another guy that I'm pretty interested in is Connor Geekie, right? Like I'd imagine he's going to be up in the NHL for a full year this year. It's kind of like what's he's going to do? Because in the AHL playoffs last year, he was close to a point per game. He really did produce there, and now if he can get more of an opportunity here within the Tampa lineup, it's like as you mentioned, they do have some more holes compared to when they were going to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, but it's like, will any of these younger players that they're kind of bringing in Peltier and Geeky, Jack Finley, right? Like, are any of these guys maybe going to shine and be able to go out there and fill one of these holes? I'm going to ask you, Mark, out of those kind of three players here, who do you think is most likely to be able to fill a hole there for the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Yeah, that is kind of tough. I do think that Pelche is going to get a real opportunity on this team. I was kind of hesitant with the whole Geeky thing. Like, there's definitely a good shot that he could make the team. And he did play well in the playoffs last year, so that might get him into the lineup. I didn't really, I know he's got like more of that power forward grindy style, but
Yeah.
I think just him being such a high pick and like being such involved in an important trade, that they kind of wanted a little bit more offensively from him. And maybe they have it now, right, with that playoff run. So I'm probably going to say Jacob Pelche, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. And it's not, this guy played in the NHL most of the year next year. I think their breakout player this year, dude, could be Gage Goncalves. I don't know if you've really watched him play a lot, but he's kind of sneaky fast. Like, he's pretty built. Like, he was very good defensively for them last year. And you know where I kind of look at it is like, is this kind of like, because Tampa's really good at bringing up guys you don't even really know about, and they start kind of like, I don't want to say popping off, but it's like they become everyday NHLers and they get pretty effective. Like, one guy I look at, Ross Colton. I didn't know shit about him until he got called up, and he's a pretty good NHL player. Gage Goncalves says, hey, he's kind of done his time in the AHL, dude. Like, around a point per game, like he's kind of sniffing at the NHL. And I know he was there most of the year last year, but I think he's just kind of getting his feet wet. And like, I'll be honest with you, dude, I think he's probably going to be like a 30, 35 plus point guy. I think he's going to, like, he had 20 and 60 games last year. I think we're going to get out like maybe 15 goals, like 20 assists maybe, and he's going to be like a pretty nice depth piece for the Lightning. He's only 24 years old, dude. He's pretty young. He can play the center and the wing. So I think it's like, I think he might get an opportunity more than like Geeky and Pelche, because they do like the experience, and that's kind of why I'm kind of like siding over here instead of your three guys I mentioned. I just feel that Goncalves, like, I don't think a lot of people really know about him, dude, because like he just came up to the NHL last year, but he's been like producing really well in the AHL last couple of years, right? And some of those guys, they come in and then they make like a pretty good impact.
Yeah, and playing on a team like Tampa too is kind of hiding them, because when you're thinking about Tampa, there's probably close to 8 or more names you kind of think of, right? Those big dogs that you kind of think of before you'd think of him. But I could see him having a pretty good season, kind of getting bumped up in the lineup.
I will say though, like, there is a spot in that top 9 for someone to take,
Yeah,
like on like the wing, like whether it's whether it's Goncalves or he plays center, or it's Pelche or it's Geeky. Honestly, even last year, like, one guy that I felt like improved a ton was Mitchell Chafee. Like, he became a regular NHL player that they were even throwing on the second power play. Like, I don't think like Tampa's depth is like I said, I don't think it's as good as where they won the cup, nothing like that. But I think people will look at these names sometimes and be like, oh my God, this depth is like terrible. And it's like, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, I think these guys, a lot of these guys are turning into regular everyday NHL players that can probably produce at a lower level. And maybe one of them breaks out. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah, I'm all with you on that, dude. It's definitely going to be interesting to kind of keep your eyes on Tampa here, considering they haven't really had this in recent years, right? It's mostly been their depth, as you mentioned, is older veteran guys who've kind of been there. But now with them having some of these younger guys, it's going to be pretty interesting to keep our eyes on. I want to ask you, Mark, what are you going to give Tampa's full offseason grade?
Um, I mean, Just to point out their moves, so nothing I really miss. Like they bring in Pontus Holmberg on a 2-year deal. Peltier comes in. On defense, they ended up losing Nick Perbix. I'm trying to think if they lost anyone else up front. I think just Luke Glendening maybe as their fourth line center. Like there really is like not much turnover with this team. They re-signed Yanni Gourde on a 6-year deal at 2.33. That's honestly, dude, I don't really give a shit about the last 3 years of that deal. That's a great contract. For a guy that can probably play third line center, but will probably play the wing because Nick Paul's a pretty serviceable third line center. Yeah, I mean,
the one thing I will add here before you give your grade is I'm also taking into account the Isaac Howard for Sam O'Reilly trade. And what
a very good point that I wasn't even really thinking about, right? I mean, like, yeah, like that if you think about that, like he probably could have been solidified on that third line left wing. Like, yeah. I still don't really understand that whole situation. I don't even know if it's him or the team. Like, it was so weird the way that all went down. It was like he didn't have a role, but he wanted a role, but they weren't even going to give it to him. So, like, I'm not really sure. So, honestly, I think I'm going to go with a C plus. Just because it's like they didn't really change anything. I understand we're talking about how good they were, but like they have been out in the first round 3 straight years. And I don't know, they didn't really try to change anything. Their defense, they lost like their 7th defenseman's now their 6th defenseman. So you can argue like in Lilleberg. So it's like they're a little bit worse on defense, but they're still a really good team. But like I feel like they could have done something to get even better. Like I know they don't have a ton of cap space, but would you be willing to move off someone? Like I know it sounds crazy, but I don't love the Bjorkstrand ad, to be quite honest. Yeah, like I think I have been a very strong supporter of him, but I'm not 100% convinced he's a top 6 forward. So I think it's just making me a bit nervous for the production. I know he hasn't been there a full season, but he's also a guy that can score goals, and maybe playing with elite players, he'll be good, right? Maybe a C plus is too harsh, but I'm just trying to think of it and not like just giving teams kind of the easy way out of like not doing anything, right? But it's like you also put yourself, when we say like, oh, like they don't have cap space, they didn't do a lot, like they also put themselves in that situation with cap space, right? Like the cap went up $6 million, dude. It's not like they've made these moves, right? Like they signed Hedman a year early, gave him $8 million. Like they knew what they were getting into, right? So I think I just kind of want to be a little bit more on the critical side, even though I think they're still a really good team and can probably win the division, but I'm not convinced they're going on a deep cup run right now.
See, I don't know if I'm fully convinced, but I'm gonna give them a B minus because in a year where it feels like a lot of teams in the offseason have gotten worse, I think being a team here who was in the playoffs last year and has had a bunch of success over the past 5 years, I think that a team that maybe is holding still kind of in the offseason isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Like I would rather have the Tampa Bay Lightning kind of go out and approach their offseason the way they have and have an opportunity of giving some of these younger guys that we mentioned earlier opportunities. I'd rather them do that than go out and spend money and overpay a player where they really don't need to, or bring in a player that is kind of gonna take a gap away from one of these younger guys where there might not be that much upside there, right? I think Tampa has kind of approached it really well. The other thing too is the Isaac Howard situation, like as you mentioned, that really did not make
I don't love the trade.
But
I don't love the trade.
See, I don't mind the trade. I'm like in a situation where the whole world knows that Isaac Howard, you basically have to trade him within the next year or you're going to lose him for free. I think getting a guy that was a late first round pick back in the trade is honestly not too bad, right? Like you look back at the Rucker McGorty trade for Brandon Yager, like I feel like that trade was pretty similar to this trade given the circumstances, right? Like a player who was maybe had a bit more skill for like
yeah. Do you say that because both guys in each trade were like picked around like the same number in the first round? Because like I forget what McGroarty was, maybe 14th overall. Like Yager was 11th. Like yeah. And then when you're talking about Howard was 31st, I think O'Reilly was 32nd. I guess the way I look at it is I wasn't super high on Sam O'Reilly in his draft year, and I felt like that pick was a bit of a reach. Meanwhile, I think Howard is I get the situation of they're more forced to move him, but I think when you look back at it and if you did like a redraft, like Howard is probably going to be going higher than 31st. Maybe O'Reilly will be too, but I just think when I'm also looking at it from the sense of Tampa could use Howard immediately. He would be a nice add on the wing that doesn't make a lot of money. They don't have cap space. And I look at O'Reilly and I still think he's probably 2 years away.
Yeah, I understand how looking at it from that view. I just think it's like, given the circumstances, I feel that they could have gone maybe a worse return from other teams.
The reason why I hated the O'Reilly deal too last year was because I didn't understand it when Edmonton didn't have a first at the draft last year, and then right before the 32nd pick, they traded their 2026 first for Philadelphia's first, which is 32nd overall. And I get the value is basically the same this year as Edmonton going to the Cup final, but I more thought of it as, dude, the Oilers are in this fucking window to win. Why are they trading their first-round pick? They need to trade this first-round pick at the deadline to get someone. They don't need to trade to get Sam O'Reilly. So I don't know if I'm kind of just associating that a little bit too much with the pick as well, but I just think Howard holds more value than 31st overall when you're looking back at it. But also, it's like I also am not convinced Edmonton was the only team that was in on him. Maybe that was just the best offer, but like it's not like it was like I have a no-move clause, trade me there. Like there could have been interest from other teams, right? So yeah, I mean, like I'm not saying I absolutely hate the trade. I just think I'm going to look back and be like, Howard's better than O'Reilly, like moving forward. I guess that's just the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure.
Move up from Tampa too. I got a plug, dude. I know he doesn't get enough love, and my buddy's cousins with him, Darren Radish for the Tampa Bay Lightning, bro. I don't know, man. Like, a lot of people don't really talk about him a lot, but I feel like he's such an underrated offensive defenseman. Yeah. Like, he comes in his rookie year. Like, I remember I went to go watch him live. I went to go watch the Bruins Tampa live, and he just came up at the end of the 2022-2023 season. And it's another guy that come up from Syracuse, dude. Like, he was playing with Hedman for like the last 17 games of the season. Then the year after, 33 points. Last year, 37 points. Like, I feel like he just doesn't get enough love as an offensive defenseman. He's got an absolute cannon of a shot. Doesn't play first power play either, right? He's playing second power play behind Hedman. So I feel like he doesn't get enough love. He's up for UFA next summer. I honestly think as a right-handed defenseman, he might like get a decent payday, dude. If he's able to get to like produce like this again, I think that a lot of people will probably start to hear about him more this year, considering he's going to be walking to UFA. Maybe they re-sign him. I don't know. But had to plug him in, dude, because I feel like when people talk about Tampa, like I feel like he doesn't ever get like his name mentioned, like even ever. And it's like he's like basically the second highest producing defenseman on the team. And like this year, yeah, he's making $975K like on a 2-year deal. Like the value you're getting for him is insane. Like there are question marks about his two-way play, but I mean, like I think he's gonna get I honestly think he could be signing for like a 4x4 this summer or something if he gets 37 points. To be honest, again.
With the cap going up, like getting a defenseman in there that can run your second power play, yeah, I could for sure see him getting 4.
It's only going to be 30 years old too.
Like 5.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at another team though that hasn't really had too much turnover this offseason. It's the Washington Capitals. Looking at their lineup, Mark, honestly, I'm kind of liking it going into this season, dude. Like Ryan Leonard, he's going to be up here for a full year in the NHL. I can't wait to see what he can do here and really produce with a full season. You're going to have him, Tom Wilson. Like, this is a big team. They're going to be tough to play against. Just looking at their right wingers, you got Protas, Wilson, and Leonard. Those guys are all dogs. They're physical, big bodies. This is a team that's going to be hard to play against, dude. How do you feel about them, though, looking at this lineup?
I'm still liking this team a lot.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, like before we get super into it, is like before we get into like a lot of the positives, I mean, is like the only thing I would criticize is that they had a lot of guys that had career years last year, and it's like, can they replicate that? I probably think Carolina is maybe going to be a better regular season team than them, but I have this team. I have them coming second in the Metro this upcoming season. The one thing that I love about like their top 9 kind of is that there's so many options of what you could do. Yeah. Like Strome's working with Ovi And like Protas was really good with them for most of the year. You could shift Protas to the second line, move Tom Wilson up to the first line. I know Spencer Carberry, I don't know if he was on a podcast recently, but he did say that in camp they're going to be trying Connor McMichael at third line center. He was a center growing up. He just played the wing all last year. It could work. I mean, if that's their 1-2-3 punch, that's pretty good. That was going to be my other kind of criticism going into like the season for them. They might lack a third line center, depending if it works with McMichael or not. They had Lars Eller last year. I really didn't think that was even enough at the deadline, and they don't even have him coming back. Like, I'd prefer Nick Dowd as my fourth line center, to be honest. But I feel like that could be like my one criticism about the team. They bring back Anthony Beauvillier as well. I felt like he was really good with them last year. Honestly, dude, watching him against the Habs in the playoffs, I was kind of like, dude, I kind of want Anthony Beauvillier to sign with the Habs this summer. Like, as like a depth guy, like I really liked him. So I think for them to bring him back, like a pretty reasonable deal. Like he's kind of one of those guys, dude. Like he produces like at like a half a point a game in the playoffs, but like not that much in the regular season. But like he's pretty highly skilled. Like when Protas was out in the playoffs, like he was playing with Ovi for a bit, right?
Yeah.
And like the one thing I wonder too, it's like when with McMichael going to the center, I kind of had him slotted in as second line left wing. Like, does that mean Leonard's top six? Like, he could be getting a really big opportunity here this year, right?
Yeah, I see him getting a massive opportunity here this year, and especially concerning with what you mentioned, that within their top nine, you can really mix and match like a decent amount, right? This team, it kind of reminds it kind of reminds me almost of the New York Islanders back when they were going to cup finals, not so much in like their play style and that, but more in the sense that like that New York Islanders team, like they'd really roll out kind of, it was a deep team and they'd really roll everybody at you, right? It kind of like this Washington team kind of reminds me of that in that sense, where it's like it's a pretty deep team. They got a lot of options here and they're really going to roll everybody out there and throw them all at you, right? The other thing too that I am finding pretty interesting here with Washington is they got a lot of good prospects that could be very good trade bait. Like you got Protas's younger brother who had over 120 points in the OHL this year. You had Andrew Cristal, who, what did he have? 132 points in this year. Like I think when you look at CHL producers, I believe they have two of the top 10 scorers from the CHL this past season as prospects, right? With those two guys. Well, yeah,
and they have fucking Cole Hudson too, the best prospect of them all, playing in the NCAA, who I honestly think is probably stepping into the lineup at the end of the season.
Yeah, and stepping in on that right-hand side, or I guess on the left-hand side.
And I don't know if this is, I have two kind of like, I don't know if that's like almost hot takes for Washington. One, I think Cole Hudson's going to win the Hobey Baker this year and then step into the NHL. And two, I'm not going to say it's the best, but I honestly think that Washington might have the most underrated D-core in the NHL. I think it's up there.
Yep.
It's pretty fucking deep, dude. Like Trevor Van Riemsdyk is their number 6 D. He is such a good shutdown D. Like Sandin took a step this year. He might be on their third pair. I love Martin Fehervar. He's physical. He's defensive. They just extended him as well past this past year. And then it's like, Matt Roy was like probably one of the best offseason signings last year that no one talks about.
Yeah,
he makes under $6 million, and he's one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. You've got Chychrun, who just came off 20 goals. I don't still love that contract with the cap going up, but maybe he continues doing what he's doing. I know John Carlson's going a little bit downhill, but he's still like a top pairing, probably like number 2 defenseman, right? Yeah. And then you're coming off a guy like Logan Thompson, almost nominated for the Vezina last year. Like, I don't know, dude. I still think this team's in a very good position. My only criticism would be I'd like them to upgrade their third line center. And then I would be curious to see how they handle the Cole Hudson coming to the NHL with that left side. That would be my other thing. I would wonder if they would be interested in like a Sandin trade or something, considering they just extended Chychrun, they just extended Fehervari. Maybe Sandin could be out the door, and like that gets Cole Hudson coming in. But that would be the other thing I'd be really curious about with them.
Yeah, I'm for sure curious about that. And I'm also a bit curious about what kind of prospects are they very interested in keeping, and what prospects are they more interested in maybe going out and using it as trade bait at some point, right? Because some of these guys, like maybe not next season, but in the near future here, could be pretty significant NHL producers. So I'm kind of curious, like out of some of their prospects, because I feel they got a pretty deep prospect pool. What guys are kind of going to be untouchable, and what guys are they going to kind of go out and use it as trade bait, right? Like, could we see one of either Cristal or Protas maybe get moved? Will they keep both? I'm kind of interested to see what they'll do there.
I honestly, dude, if it was me, like at least for this season, to trade for another prospect or to get like NHL help, I wouldn't touch like when I say touch, I mean I wouldn't trade Hudson, Cristal, or Protas. At least for this year, I'd want to keep them. I honestly think there's a shot Cristal's making the NHL.
Yeah.
Maybe they want him in the AHL to improve some skating. I'd be more interested to see on Tarek Parasak and Ivan Miroshnichenko if they'd move one of those guys. I think those are probably like their 4 and 5 prospects at this point. So I feel like they're kind of movable. But if I were them, I would, unless a very good deal came in front of me, I wouldn't be. Hudson is untradeable to me, first of all. Anyway, I wouldn't be looking to trade Cristal or Protas right now, at least. Maybe in a year or two if the development isn't as good, but right now I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm all with you on that, dude. While we're talking about some of their prospects, let's take a look at the draft that they had and kind of talk about that. Opposite of Tampa, Washington went the route where they didn't really have a lot of picks volume wise, but they kind of kept their higher end picks where they had picks in the first 3 rounds of their first 3 rounds of the draft. How do you feel they kind of did at the draft, Mark?
To be honest, I'm pretty happy with the outcome of Washington's draft, despite like you said, not having like a whole bunch of picks. First one, like they're getting 27th overall in the first round just because of winning the division. I had Lyndon Lakovic in the top 20. He's a 6'4", 190-pound, more of a skilled player, but he has shown like flashes of being a power forward. I just think if he fills out and like keeps producing, it's going to be a hell of a pick, to be honest. It's going to be another like power forward walking into Washington's system. But if not, I think he's got enough skill to be maybe a top 6 forward, but I think he's going to be like more guaranteed a top 6 forward if he can be a power forward. Milton Gastrin, I think I had him ranked 25th. I really like this pick as well. I think he can be like a very quality third line center down the road. He's got a big frame too at 6'1", 185. Maxime Schaefer, this is the one pick I will criticize. I don't really understand this pick. He didn't really produce at all in the DEL this last year. I wonder if it's just because he's a bigger body and he's filled out, but there's really nothing about his game that impresses me. And in the 3rd round, I'm sorry, there was a lot more talent available in my opinion. They could have taken a swing on like an LJ Mooney or like a Adam Benak or something like that, and I would have liked that a lot better. And I'll be honest with you, their last 2 picks in the 5th and 7th round, I do not really know at all. And I don't really want to comment on players I don't know about, to be honest. It's just like really not fair. But I mean, those are later picks in the draft. Like I'm not even really, in my mind, it's like they had the 3 picks kind of thing, because it's like they can take swings in the later rounds. I'm going to be honest. I think I'm going with an A. I love the first 2 picks. I do. I think they got great value on those guys.
See, I'm not too familiar with their 2nd and 3rd round pick, but the length of a kid, dude, I love him. Like as you mentioned, kind of that bigger body, he can kind of play that power forward role. I think with what we're starting to see in the NHL, where you're starting to see it go back to the more physical style, especially in playoffs, and that's what gets you the cup. I think this is a great pick, dude. A guy that has skill, but is also big body. For me, I'm gonna give them an A as well. The one thing though, Mark, that I do find funny about this draft is no Russians. I think this might be one of the first years in a while where the Capitals haven't gone out and drafted a Russian. Now that I got your draft grade, Mark, I want to get your overall offseason grade.
Yeah, I mean, they did a lot of well, not a lot. They did a couple of their deals kind of like before the offseason, like the 2 goalies. Re-signing Anthony Beauvillier, I kind of like that. They extend Martin Fehervary for 7 years. I think he'll probably be a $6 million defenseman. I don't really think that's like great value necessarily, but I think like we might look at it with the cap going up and being like, yeah, he's a good second pairing defenseman. He's kind of worth that. Besides that, like Taylor Radish, he left. Lars Eller's gone. It's kind of more just filling out depth guys. I will give them. I'll give them an A minus. I think just like the third line center things bothered me a little bit about them, and I just don't want to give them that high of a grade. But they had a really good draft, and I mean, they made some pretty solid like depth moves and stuff like that, and they have the possibility of like there's spots to take. There's a spot or two to take on this team up front. I think with maybe being a third line winger, if it's a fourth line winger. So I mean, and they've got like guys in their organization that can compete for that. So I mean. I think they're going to come second in the Metro. That's my guess for this season.
I'm going to go same as you. I'm going to give them an A minus. Similar to you, like they're depending on what happens here with their third line center, that maybe is a bit of a worry. If McMichael isn't playing center, then also having Lapierre as your fourth line center, I don't know how much I like that. I don't really think his game and his play style really suits playing.
No, I'm going to be honest. I think I think he's going to be one of the first guys out the door when they make a trade.
I could easily see that. I think I would have just liked to maybe I'd see them address a depth centerman. Even if you're going out and you're getting like a depth centerman that's maybe a bit of a veteran, but he's sitting in the press box some nights, like I would have even been fine with that. It's just I think going to the season having Lapierre as your fourth line centerman, it's maybe a bit of a question mark.
Well, and I will say, like, if it doesn't work with McMichael, like I don't love Dowd at third line center either.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's definitely some improvement there up the middle of the ice, at least for the bottom half for this team. Let's go and take a look now at the Dallas Stars. The big move they made over the offseason is firing their head coach, Pete DeBoer. Outside of that, their lineup, it's looking somewhat similar to last year's. Mark, first of all, what did you think about the firing? And then second of all, how do you kind of feel about their lineup?
Yeah, I mean, the whole firing thing. I'll be honest, like I really have absolutely nothing against Pete DeBoer. Like I kind of like him. Like I mean, I want him to succeed. He hasn't really got. I mean, he's gotten to the cup. I'm not going to say that, but I mean, he's never reached the pinnacle, right? I mean, and he's been on deep playoff runs. He's shown he can get teams to the playoffs and win rounds. I just think the way the whole thing played out, I just felt like there was like no coming back from it. I feel like because that's your star goalie that you just committed to for 8 years. And at the same time, like I will say, like a lot of people were really critical of Jake Ottinger in the playoffs last year. I thought he was pretty good until like a little bit into that Oilers series. And like, yeah, I mean, he didn't play well in the last game. Like I wouldn't have pulled him personally, but I mean, he also didn't perform at his best. That's not the best we've seen from Jake Ottinger, right? And I think he knows it, but I just think the way the whole situation played was weird considering, like, remember they called the timeout. He went to the bench and then he was going back to the net and he just like yelled at him and called him back and pulled him from the game, right? I didn't really think that it was kind of on him in that game, but at the same time, like it was still a couple stoppable pucks. And I mean, did you just feel like it was time as well? Like it has been 3 straight Western Conference Finals exit. I understand that's not easy to do, dude. Like you're getting into the top 4 3 straight seasons. Am I wrong about that? It has 3 straight seasons, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, because they lost to Vegas the year before, I'm pretty sure. Or sorry,
Vegas?
Yeah.
And then Edmonton.
And then Edmonton twice. Dude, it's not easy to do. Like you know what I mean? To get a team there, but I mean, they're trying to jump the hurdle to get to the next level, and I'm not convinced if they kept Pete DeBoer, they'd be able to do that next year.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, dude. I think it was basically like the way it played out, you cannot keep Pete DeBoer around for another season. Based off that. And then I also think it was one of those things where it's like they just needed a fresh face, right? Like this was a team last season that had a bit of changeover within their top 6 at least, right? Bringing in Ranton in, you kind of lose Stankoven. The other thing too is you want to see, like there's a couple players here in this lineup where you maybe wanted to see a bit more from. The big one being Jason Robertson, right? Like at points you want to see more from him. So I think getting a new coach in here for the Stars, getting just a new somebody new in there who's yelling at you, pushing you, right? Like not having those same old words from DeBoer. I think that's going to be a good change. Looking at their
I will
lineup
say
now.
though, I felt like Robertson, like he was kind of the only guy like producing near the end though of the playoffs. Like that last like game or two, like I swear he was the only one who scored for them. But I do get what you mean. Like he was a 108-point player and it's dropped off a bit, and you'd like to get him back to the next level. But like I don't know, I feel like I'm just like not as down on Jason Robertson as a lot of other people, and I think he probably should be on the U.S. Olympic team this year if he is playing really well. But I do understand there is another level to his game that we've seen that we haven't seen in a couple of years, but he's still like a point per game player, dude. Like I don't know, like it's not easy to have players like that around, and it's crazy that I just think it's crazy the way people are talking about him because he's still a point per game player, but I think it's just because of the bit of a drop off and how good that season was.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say I'm that down on him. I'm more just looking at it like we've seen what his upside can be, and I feel at times since then he's just been maybe a bit streaky at points, right? Like he'll go on a hot streak and then he'll maybe go a couple games where he doesn't really look the best. Where it's like if you can just get him more consistent, that could be a massive fright for other teams that are going up against Dallas, having him and Rantanen both maybe producing at a top end level, and then with the amount of depth they have, or like it would really change the way that team is maybe looked upon. Looking at their lineup now, though, honestly, I'm kind of a fan of like I'm a big fan of this forward group. I love what they're doing. This defensive group, though, Mark, it scares me, dude. It scares me. Like having a Labushkin, we all know how me and you feel about him. Having Labushkin as your playing in your top four, I'm not a fan of at all. How are you kind of looking at this lineup though? Are you feeling the same things?
Yeah, I mean, I do think like before we get into the D core, like I think the forward core is like it is a bit worse. Like they did lose Granlund, like that is a pretty crucial part of their team. Like you know what I mean? Like he was really good in the playoffs last year, and like I don't know, like there's still spots to kind of like I feel like fourth line is like I'm gonna be honest. This sounds dumb, but I think them bringing back Radek Faksa for a 3-year deal at $2 million was so stupid. I get it's $2 million, but you literally have like three other options for a fourth line center, and when you're that close to the cap, I think you should be allocating your money elsewhere. Getting into their D though, but the thing is, their forwards are still like they still have a deep forward group, right? Like it's
Yeah.
still one of the better in the league. I'm not convinced it's as good. I guess even that they did, right, you're gonna have a full season of Rantanen. The depth is still a little bit of a question mark to me. With the defense, yeah, dude. I mean, like the thing is, it's like they have two. They have a number one defenseman. They have a guy that's about to become a number one defenseman. And I think Lindell is probably like a solid ass number three.
At worst, yeah.
He's so good defensively, to be honest. He eats minutes. He just doesn't really produce a lot offensively. But then it's like it's a huge drop off. And to be honest, I like Leon Bichelle, but I like he's just not at a level yet where I'm comfortable having him solidify in the top four. And also, if you put him in the top four, you have four left-handed defensemen in the top four. I honestly think he could be used in a trade. I wouldn't be doing it right away, but I think a lot of teams would value him a ton as a 6'6" skating defenseman. And I would do it if they could upgrade their right side and get a good right-handed defenseman. I would do it just because I get he's a good young prospect, but dude, you already have three really good left-handed defensemen. And I don't think that Leon Bichelle has the upside that any of those guys do, to be honest. So I'd be like, keeping him now is good and fine and everything. But if I would like to upgrade that right side, ideally if it was first pair guy, but I mean, it's probably going to be more of a second pair guy. And yeah, I mean, like they got rid of that Dumba contract, but they had to put a second to it. Like they get like Kolyanchuk back, who wasn't even really an everyday NHL defenseman last year. Like I'm not really that sold on their decor. And it's like the funny thing about them too, dude, is like I was wrestling with this for so long. Like Alex Petrovic has played in the playoffs for them the past 2 years and actually been like a decent third pairing defenseman who's physical. And I think he's played more playoff games for the Dallas Stars in the past 2 years than regular season games. He's been in the AHL for most of the past 2 seasons. So I was kind of wrestling with like putting him in on the third pair. Are they going to try to do the same thing again? I'm honestly not convinced he'd go through waivers again, though, to be honest. I think someone would maybe pick him up. But yeah, I'm just not really that like I like the Stars, and I 100% can see them competing for first again in the division. But when I'm looking at it in the sense of them losing three straight third round exits, I'm not convinced that they're necessarily a better team than last year and that they could jump that hurdle.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, dude. Like, even comparing,
I could see them getting back there, but I don't know.
Even comparing their decor last year to this year, like I'd say their decor for sure got worse, right? Like, you're taking a
Cody
huge gamble
CC.
here. You're taking a huge gamble here on your third pairing, and then having Bouchon as your number 4. I'm not a fan of whatsoever. I definitely would have liked to see them kind of try to address that in the offseason. And I get they are maybe close to the salary cap, but as you said, maybe you let Fatska walk, and then you allocate that money to upgrading your right hand side, right? Like, it would have been possible for Dallas to do this offseason. Unfortunately, they just didn't go that route. Let's take a look at their draft now, though. At the draft, really not many high-end picks here, Mark. First pick was pick 94 in the third round. How do you kind of feel about their draft, though? Because to be honest, I love their first pick here.
Dude, I think Dallas, for the picks they had a really good draft this year. I know Cameron Schmidt is tiny, and like he's kind of in that comparable to like the Adam Benax and like the LJ Moonies, and I feel like I'm missing a couple guys here that I mentioned like on the past episodes. But dude, I think that Cameron Schmidt is like a higher ceiling than those guys, and I honestly would have risked a top 50 pick on him.
Yeah,
and I think this is a no doubt pick, dude. Like at 94, I was watching the draft and I had no idea he was still available. Like he got picked. I was like, what? I was like, I honestly, I thought he went like 40th, and I wasn't even that like even if when I thought that, I was like, oh, that's fine. Like I probably just wouldn't use a first round pick on him and be like okay with something outside there, because he is 5'7", 161, but like, dude, he's a pure fucking goal scorer. He skates unbelievable. Like I think he could make the NHL eventually if he keeps kind of progressing. So I love this pick for the Dallas Stars there. Brandon Gorzinski. For a fourth round pick, I think this is pretty decent. Like he's kind of like just a 6'2", 185, like playmaker, a little bit over half a point a game. I feel like it's not really a huge risk. Honestly, dude, I really like their next pick, Ate Yoki. I didn't really know about him much until like halfway through the season. He was just under a point a game playing in the U20 league last year, but like, watching some clips of him, like I was honestly convinced that he was like the best two-way player in the draft. Like not a lot of offensive upside, but I was like, I could see this guy being like a really fucking good fourth line center. Cause like he's got decent frame as well. He's like, he's built, dude. Like he's 6'2", 201. And it was like, I was watching some clips of him just like shut guys down and like just have like an active stick and everything. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, I think maybe like late second round, early third round kind of thing, maybe like would be good. And it's like he dropped all the way to the fifth, and I was like, wow, like I feel like this could be good value. And like I feel like a team like Dallas could probably use that in the future. It's another Finnish guy. Like imagine him just being the fourth line center in the future. Like I could totally see that happening, kind of thing. And just like with the other teams we were talking about, I'm not too familiar with like Dawson Sharkey or Charlie Paquette. They did pick a goalie, though, in the fifth round, Mans Goose.
This guy's best in the draft.
Dude, I know. I was thinking the same thing. This guy's massive. I feel like it's just like one of these other depth goalie picks. Teams love picking huge goalies now. Yeah. I was talking about this with a couple of guys at work today. I think that the way the game is changing and how it's changed with how fast everyone is and how like fast guys' releases are, and I think that teams like bigger goalies because sometimes goalies make saves and like they're not that they're not reacting, but it's like they're slower reacting, and that extra inch or two on their body could literally help them like block. Like some goalies are like blocking goalies and some guys are like reaction goalies. Like Dustin Wolf is a reaction goalie. Like, you know what I mean? But you look at some of the bigger guys in the NHL, like, to be honest, I look at a guy like Aiden Hill, and I think he's like a complete blocking goalie. I don't think he's super athletic. He's huge, though, right? He takes up a lot of net. So it's like teams like using they like picking big goalies recently. You know what I mean? And I think he's just kind of one of those guys. Like maybe he does produce to be an NHL goalie, but he didn't really have great stats. And watching him a little bit, I was not really convinced he was going to be like one of the top goalies taken.
So, Mark, after going through their draft, what would you give their draft grade?
I think I would honestly, for what picks they had available, I would go with an A+.
Really, that high?
Yeah, I mean, just for what was available at the time. Like I think that like all those guys in the fourth round too, like Mooney and like all those guys, like they went before like Gorzinski did as well. So like they didn't even have that available to them. And dude, I just think I think Ate Yoki's going to be an NHL player. That's a 5th round pick, and I think Cameron Schmitz could be like a 3rd or 2nd liner maybe if it turns out well.
Yeah, for me, I love that Cameron Schmidt pick, dude. Like, I feel like all year long, like, you heard about this guy, like, talent wise, possibly being like a top 32 talent, but just with his size, a lot of teams, of course, held that against him. But for Dallas, like, if you're getting him at 95 or sorry, 94, man, like, that's a hell of a pick.
It's insane. It's insane value. I think it's honestly one of the best, like one of the, like outside of like maybe like some of the first round stuff. Like I think it's literally probably the best pick.
See,
I honestly, I do.
I was thinking about giving them a B plus, but you've convinced me. I'm going to change it to an A. I'll give them an A here. Now talking about their overall off season. Mark, what are you giving their overall off season?
Yeah, I feel like this. I'm gonna have a little bit different of opinion on this compared to their draft because I just don't think that they've kind of filled enough holes that they had that were exposed in the playoffs, like the right-handed D. That's big, dude. That like a non-move. I don't like that the way they are going to the season. I thought there would be no doubt they were making some sort of trade here. The one thing I will say is the first line's unbelievable. I think if you can get Robertson to another level, like the Rantanen re-signing and having him in, I love that. I would just say after that, it's like, is Duchesne going to produce at the same level? It's a great contract, don't get me wrong, but it's like I'm not convinced he's going to be an 82-point player again. Like Jamie Benn, is he a second liner? Like I have him on the second line right now. Like is Sagan going to get back to where he was? So it's like I'm saying this because I almost have a little bit of a question mark of even a top 6 forward. Not that I don't think it's impossible for it to be filled internally, but I don't know for sure. Maybe Maverick Bourque gets a chance, but I think he's probably better suited off to be their 3rd line center right now after they lost Granlund. I'm trying to think of positives they did, dude. Before I rip this, like draft, I mean, the thing is, it's that like Rantanen's back. They did that. Like Johnston. The thing is, they did a lot of these deals in season.
Yeah.
And this even Sam Steele. Like, I'm gonna be honest, dude. I think I'm going with a C-.
Dude,
I think that top 4 D is so fucking important, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, I'm all with you on that, dude. I'm going C-. Just looking at their D, the depth of the D, and then having Labushkin in there, like it's like man, like Dallas for the past couple of years has lost in the playoffs because they've gotten exposed within this area of their team, and once again they haven't addressed that, and it's like they've had opportunities to address it, and then I kind of agree with you as well. Is like it is a bit of a question mark that top 9 where you do have a couple aging out players, and it's like, all right, how much of a step back will some of those players take if they do take steps back? So I'm going to give Dallas a C- for their overall offseason.
I thought of a positive. Jamie Benn 1 by 1. I ain't complaining.
Yeah, I think that was the only positive that you can really look at is that you're getting him on a absolute bargain of a contract. Let's take a look now at the team that Dallas has lost to in the playoffs the last couple of years. It's the Edmonton Oilers. They made one of the bigger splashes of the offseason. As we talked about earlier, they traded for a Hobey Baker winner, Isaac Howard. Mark, to start off, how did you like this trade on Edmonton's point of view?
I love it, dude. I think that And I think I love it even more because of what I was talking about with the whole Tampa thing with how I don't really think Sam O'Reilly's ready. And I felt like they kind of used that first pick to not get it, or that first round pick not to get immediate help instead of using it to get immediate help like this past season. To get a guy that's going to be able to be in the lineup right away for a team that is cap strapped is so important. I don't think a lot of people understand the value in having like guys on their ELCs when you are a cap team. You know what I mean? So I love this deal. To be honest, I've got him projected on the first line right now. Not that I think he's like already a first line quality player or anything like that, but I think he's probably going to get a chance at least in the top 6, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Like I think there's openings on that left wing. And I think it's his opportunity to seize, to be quite honest with you. Like he's going to be a good chance he's playing with Draisaitl or McDavid. Like, do you think it's that crazy that he could be like a Calder candidate, like a finalist if like all goes well this year? Or do you think that's a bit of a stretch?
To be honest, I was going to say when I was kind of looking at this earlier, I was kind of going to say that my hot take here for this episode was that Isaac Howard will win the Calder. But I guess you kind of are thinking the same, so I don't know how much of a hot take it is, man. Like let's be honest, right? Like if James Neal can go back to scoring the way he did playing alongside Connor McDavid, if Zach Kassian can kind of play how he did playing alongside Connor McDavid, like I think if you put Isaac Howard on that left wing playing with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman, like would it? I realistically think Isaac Howard could be a 30-goal scorer this season and win the Calder.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my God. See, now I will be honest with you. You are doing what I did last year. I don't know if you remember. I said I would mortgage my house that I said Jeff Skinner is scoring 30 goals.
Here's the thing, though, is that Jeff Skinner didn't like he was on a very short leash, and eventually after he kind of got like after he lost his place, like he really lost it and was not getting opportunities, right? Where like with Isaac Howard, that's not really going to happen. Like if Isaac Howard, here's the thing: if Isaac Howard has a bad 3 games, like it's not going to be like Isaac Howard's getting healthy scratched, or he's going to be going down and playing on the fourth line type thing. Where like with Jeff Skinner, that kind of happened a bit at points last year, right?
I'm not necessarily sure if I agree with you. Because what I will say is I feel like if he's not producing to the level, okay, I will say I don't think he's going down to the fourth line, but could you not see a situation where like Nuge is going up in the lineup or Mangiapane's getting a shot in the top 6 instead? Like, I don't know. I feel like I could see it happening, dude.
See, I see them really rolling McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge as their centers. Because having that depth is going to be what's kind of been the biggest issue with the Oilers the last couple of years? It's been their depth. It's been they're so reliant on their top guys. Where now that you have kind of filled their team out the way they have, it's like you can be more reliant on spreading around your top guys and kind of hoping like the Podkolzins have another good season. See what Savoy can do, right? Like see what Isaac Howard can do. Yeah, it is a fair bit of question marks, but when you're playing with McDavid and Draisaitl and even Nuge, like these guys that have so much talent, I do see it working out. I do agree with you. Like I do think Howard. I'm not saying he's going to be on the top line all year, but I could maybe see it where he gets pushed down to the second or third line. But even if that happens, like if you get pushed down the second line, like you go from playing with McDavid to Draisaitl, who's arguably a better playmaker at points, right? Like I don't think anybody would be too in too much of a disagreement saying that maybe Draisaitl's a better passer than McDavid. Like for me, that's just how I'm looking at it. Is like having Isaac Howard playing with these guys, getting the power play opportunity that he's going to be getting with them. Maybe he doesn't score 30 goals, but I think he'll be close to it. And I for sure think he's going to be a Calder finalist at the end of the year.
For sure.
Yeah. Dude, I'm that high on Isaac Howard in this Oilers team, man.
Who would your other two Red Calder finalists be right now?
It's tough because I got to think. I got to refresh my head in who's all
You got Ryan Leonard, you got Demidov, you got Buium, potentially Dickinson, Perrick. Those guys are more than at the top, right? Howard.
I think Howard and I think Demidov will be, for sure. The third one's tough.
Schaefer, Misa. Maybe Frondell.
Third, I'm gonna say just leave it blank for now. But like when it comes to like, I just think for some of those other guys, it's like I don't know how much opportunity they're gonna be getting, right? It's like Misa, if he is in the NHL, like it's.
I don't know, but we just talked about Ryan Leonard potentially playing in the top 6, dude. Like, what's the difference? Like, I get like playing with Draisaitl and McDavid. Like, but it's just like I think he's gonna get a chance. I think he's gonna get a chance, and I don't think it's gonna be 5 games. I think it's gonna be longer. But if it's like, to be honest with you, even if he has like 15 points in his first like 30 games, like I could see him still getting sent down to the third line. Like, because maybe they think he should be able to produce more. And it's like, what if Mangiapane goes up and he's like fucking producing like he did when you had him on the Flames and he had 35 goals, or Nuge just starts tearing it up again? It's like, I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it's like, I feel like if he loses his spot, I just not convinced he can get it back fast. That's more, I guess, what I'm looking at.
See, for me, I think if he does lose his spot though, that's where it comes in. It's like, hey, like, you go from playing with McDavid to playing with Draisaitl, maybe, right? It's like if Mangiapane does go up, it's like maybe Savoy goes down to the third line too, right? Like,
yeah, that's possible.
When you look at this Oilers lineup, like, yeah, the top 3 centermen are pretty solidified there with McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge, but on the wings, outside of Hyman, like, there's a lot of kind of combos you could work with, right? Like, which is pretty interesting here to look at with this team, at least. Outside of the kind of Isaac Howard Calder talk, Mark, how are you kind of feeling about this roster though overall?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, though, back to your comment I want to make before, like, about their depth, like, I will agree it hasn't been great at times, but, like, I feel like for most of the playoff run last year, it was good, but then it did kind of, like, freeze up in the Stanley Cup Finals, but they were getting good production from some of their depth guys in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, but, yeah, sometimes in the regular season, it's not really there, right? Like, and they still need that in the regular season. Like, you don't want to overtire, like, McDavid and Draisaitl from doing too much, right? I really like this roster, dude. I mean, I think there's still question marks in accordance to, is it going to be Nuge third line center, or does he potentially move up? Does he go to the second line wing? Like, I don't really love at this point in his career Henrique being the third line center. Like, maybe that is a question mark with them moving forward. But if not, like, Nuge is absolutely more than capable of being a third line center in this league. Their defense is basically the same, except you take out Klingberg and you put Emberson in. Emberson had good stretches last season. I feel like he's more than capable of being like a number 6 guy, but I know we hate on Darnell Nurse a lot, and it's like whatever, but I just like I know he's probably like a second pairing defenseman, but it's just like it's hard to move him out. They've been put into the situation. I feel like if anything, I would have liked to move him out and bring like a right-handed top 4D, but it's just like it's not going to be possible with like what assets they'd have to attach to even like get rid of that contract. But like the one thing I'll say though, it's like, if they got a new goalie, though, like, depending on how good it was, like, would you just be like, this team is, like, definitely has a huge chance to, like, win the cup again? Or, like, do you think, like, there's a possibility some of these guys are, like maybe the fatigue could catch up to them? Like, I will say I still have some doubts about them, but, like, I feel like they're still probably going to go to, like, to at least the conference finals. And like it's not like Skinner isn't like capable of taking them there, but I just think like I think it's so dependent on how good Howard could be this year, how good Savoy could be this year, and honestly, like I have always been a big Vasily Podkolzin fan, and I think he's going to get a decent opportunity this year again to make some impact. So those are kind of 3 guys I'm really keeping my eye on this year, obviously along with the goaltending. But if all goes well with those guys, like I feel like it's going to be good. But like you also got to think, like I know it's younger guys compared to more veterans, but like we also felt really good about them bringing in Skinner and Arvidsson last year, and that didn't really work out. And they kind of had to like almost find some like replacements, right? Like I will say, like, as much as Trent Frederic's making under $4 million, like I don't really love the 8-year deal. Like I don't understand why you had to go there for a guy who didn't really produce last year. But like I love the Mangiapane ad, dude.
Yep. That's it.
I think he's a great player to like. He's honestly like an upgrade on Connor Brown.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Right? And losing Connor Brown isn't great, or Corey Perry, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like some of their depth could still step up. Like, I don't mind the Mangiapane, you know what I mean? Like, and like, I kind of like the depth on this team, and like, they might not even be done adding. Like, they could probably add like another depth scorer or something.
I'm going to be honest, and this might be absolutely crazy to hear, but out of the last 3 years where the Oilers have gone to the Cup back, like this year and then the 2 seasons past, where the Oilers have gone to the Cup finals in back-to-back years, out of opening day rosters, I think I like this one the most out of all of them.
Well, what do you mean though? Because they haven't gone to 3 Cup finals.
Like
Florida has.
So the 2 Cup finals, those started the seasons, and then.
Oh, gotcha.
So going back to 2 seasons before, and then going into this season, like I think this is my favorite Oilers team on paper, at least. I think
I would have to like actually go back to look at it, but I mean, like I don't really think that's like necessarily like a hot take. I think bringing in some youth that like to play with those guys that like do have like high end skill like could work out really well. But there is obviously risk with that if like they're actually ready, or like, you know what I mean. But I mean, yeah, I'm not really convinced, dude. You know they haven't won the division since like the late '80s.
Which is crazy, but it's like they always get off to this terrible start, and then they get in the playoffs, and then it's like they just get going.
I think they're going to come in second in the division this year. I'd probably say Vegas could probably edge them out regular season wise, but I feel like after Vegas and Edmonton, there's almost like a pretty sizable drop off, just because I think LA got worse. Like before the next team. So, I mean, they'll probably be fighting for the division, but you never know with the whole fatigue thing, right? Like the Panthers going to 3 straight cups, like they only come in 3rd place in the division, right? Like it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going pedal to the metal, you know what I mean? Like every single night. So I feel like just putting them in I could have them in second, like pretty comfortably.
Let's take a look at their draft now. Similar to Dallas's draft, not much happened here. How do you feel about the little picks that they did make, though?
I will be completely honest with you. Like I like you said, they didn't really have a lot of picks. They had a 3rd, a 4th, a 6th, and a 7th round pick. If we're just kind of nitpicking of like who's available, I don't really necessarily like love the Tommy Lafreniere pick. He's kind of just like an undersized skilled guy that I just don't think is going to be like translatable to like the Oilers system down the road if he even becomes an NHLer. I think there was better picks on the board at the time. Honestly, I think their next pick, David Lewandowski, should have went before the other guy. I feel like this is like a pretty solid pick. He's he is like a skilled guy, and he kind of more producing more near the end of the season. I feel like where he's picked is kind of fine. I'm not really too familiar with their next pick, Asher Barnett. They took a goalie in the 6th round, an overager, Daniel Solomon. I don't really know much about him, but he had pretty good stats last year playing U20 as a 19-year-old, so I feel like this is a pretty decent pick. He's a right-handed catching goalie as well. Dude, it's crazy to say it was the 7th round, but I actually like this Aiden Park pick a ton, dude. I thought he should have got drafted the year before, and in a league that I understand that he's an overager by a year, but for a league that like is not like high producing, like to get 33 and 33 for 66 points in the USHL, like that's pretty good production, dude. Like he was, I think, the 2nd or 3rd highest goal scorer in the league. And the way I'm looking at it is like Will Zellers, had, the Bruins prospect, had the most goals in the USHL last year. He was drafted like in the same year that Aiden Park was eligible, and it's like he had like 6 more goals than Park did. Like, so it's like if he was picked the year before, I would have been totally fine with this, right? And like you're getting him like literally one of the last picks of the draft, so it's like this is a no doubt like gamble for me. And it's crazy, like I'm talking about a 7th round pick this much, but it's like I literally thought he should have been picked the year before, man. Like he's kind of like he's very built, and he's got such a good shot.
Yeah, I love that pick as well. It's like getting him in the seventh round. There's absolutely no risk there, pretty much, and the reward is like at best maybe he's a third, fourth line player, right? But if you can get that out of a seventh round pick, like that's phenomenal. The other thing that I I did like about the Oilers and what they did this offseason, where I didn't really want to talk about it in their lineup, and it's more kind of has to do with the draft, is signing Quinn Hudson out of university. I like that for the Oilers. Like, who knows what his upside is? He is a bit undersized, but he is a player that produced pretty well at Boston U last year. And I'm not saying he's going to be playing the NHL this year, but it's going to be interesting to kind of see what he can do in the AHL and taking that next step to go from college to the AHL. And hey, maybe at some point towards the end of the year, like he is performing well and maybe does get a little bit of a look, but I do like that from the Oilers' point of view as well. Mark, what are you going to give their draft grade?
Draft grade. Like I don't want to put too much stock into this Aiden Park pick, to be quite honest, just because like I just think it's a good pick. You know what I mean? Like I think the risk is good. I don't think he's ever going to be like a high end NHL or anything like that, or maybe he never even makes it, right? But um, I think like just considering like the third round, they probably could have got someone decent, and I don't like the pick that much. Like I'll probably just go with like a C plus. Like they could have. I think it's just like if I'm actually looking at it, they definitely could have got someone better. And it was weird that they picked him before Lewandowski to me. Like I don't know, it's just kind of strange. I think a bit. So if I'm gonna put stock into that, I'll give them like a C plus.
Yeah, for me, I think I'll give them a B minus just because I'm considering the Quinn Hudson thing is kind of part of their draft. If I take out the Quinn Hudson thing and just basically go after the picks that they made, then I'm with you, C plus. But I, I do like the Quinn Hudson thing, so if I'm counting that, and I'll bump it up a little bit. Now looking at their overall offseason grade, Mark, what are you going to give them here?
Well, I'm down to give him a grade, but like I kind of was interested in chatting about the whole McDavid thing. Do you want
Yeah,
me to
if
give a grade and then we'll talk about that?
yeah, we can talk about the McDavid thing. So
Yeah, like I mean, like I just I'll give him a grade first. We'll give him a grade, and then we'll move on to the McDavid thing, and then we can kind of wrap it up because I feel like it is an important topic,
yeah,
bro. And it's like it's been a conversation the entire offseason. When I'm look at their offseason, I mean, I like a lot of the moves they made. I don't necessarily love like the Frederick deal, but I would say like that's kind of one of the only things I'm kind of pointing fingers at, you know what I mean, in accordance to like what they did. The one thing I will say though is they didn't address their goaltending at all, and there's still huge question marks about that. So it's like, how much stock am I putting into that? I think just because it is a huge question mark, but they did make good moves, like I'm going to give them a B.
see, I'm going to give them an A.
I don't think you're taking the goaltending into account enough, dude. They didn't do anything. You can keep the A, but I just don't like, I don't know, dude. There's been proof that he can't win a cup and that they're so up and down, both of them.
Yeah, I agree with that. There has been proof with that. I just think it's given what the options were this offseason, I just think with the assets that they had, like I'm more happy with what they spent their assets on and got in return than what they maybe would have spent their assets on for a goalie. You know what I mean? It's just like
Kind of like, and I do get what you're saying, but
I
it's
rather
just
I rather them go into the season with Stuart Skinner and then having Isaac Howard on your first line because you gave up Sam O'Reilly in that trade than going into the season with John Gibson and having a big hole on your first line playing with McDavid because you gave up your assets to get John Gibson.
man, you really love Isaac Howard.
Yeah, no, I do. Isaac Howard's my Hudson of this year, man. All year I'm gonna be talking about this guy, and then he's gonna win the Calder, and I'll look like
you gotta start calling him Ike, dude, or he's gonna get mad at you. Yeah, I mean, the one thing too, I'm kind of like it's just more like a depth curious move. Like they signed David Tomasak this year out of the SHL. He led the entire SHL in scoring, and he's like He's a centerman, like right-handed shooting. Like I'm more curious than like their depth. Like you look at their four centers right now in the lineup, and it was the same thing last year. They're all left-handed. Like
Yeah.
Thomas Ek's a right-handed shooting center. They signed Curtis Lazar as well. So I'm kind of curious to see the way they utilize those guys. And I feel like those are decent pickups as well at the same point. Yeah, I just feel like the whole Skinner thing though, dude. It's just like, fuck, it's starting to feel like the Leafs just bringing back like the fucking band again, dude, until this year. Like that's just what it feels like to me. It's just like, oh fuck, it's gonna happen again. Like I don't know, man. I get what you're saying, but they don't have a lot of options. Maybe they do address it during the season, but I just, as of right now, I'm just looking at it as like, I'm not convinced either of these guys can win them a cup.
See, I don't hate that, but I just think when you're looking at everything else they did over this offseason, I really do like all the other things, like bringing in Mangiapane, bringing in Howard, the Trent Frederick contract. I don't hate it, but I don't like absolutely love it. So I'm gonna give them an A. Honestly, if they did go out and kind of address their goaltending, I'd bump it up to an A plus if they did do that. Okay, let's talk about this McDavid contract though. Mark, is he signing? If he is, what is he signing for?
Yeah. I'm so curious to see now just because like what did you think about his comments? Like did he the comments he made, like do you think he's like, does it seem like he's a little bit like off, like uncertain? Like, would you say he might be exploring other option, like thinking about other options? Like, I don't necessarily like think so, but I will say like I didn't necessarily like love what he said. Like, I feel like if he wasn't like that convinced, like it wasn't that convincing as if someone was doubting it. Like, I don't know if that would have convinced me that he is going back. Do you get what I'm saying? Like I do think he's going back, but I don't think and I just don't know if it's the way he is and his personality. But like it left me a little bit like, I guess if I'm like 95% sure he was going to resign, maybe I'm like 90 or 85. But like I do think he's going back. I don't know if it's going to be before the season or in season. But I'm just not convinced that he would kind of do that to them and would like kind of leave them stranded and like walk for nothing. In accordance to like a contract, I don't think he's taking a max deal at all. I don't think he's going for a 7 or 8 year deal. I think he might have a little bit of doubts about like the goaltending or like some parts of the roster or something, and maybe just wants to put a little bit more pressure on the organization to like kind of fill the right holes. I'm gonna say my prediction is he's gonna get. See, what's making me weird about it is I think at this point Kaprizov is going to go first, and I wonder what that number is going to be. I've literally seen that Minnesota would go 16 if they had to keep him.
That's insane.
My prediction for Kaprizov is 15 times 8. I think McDavid. No, I think he's getting that for sure. And I think that McDavid is going to get 16 and a half times 4. That's my prediction.
I think 16 and a half times 4.
Yeah.
Man, how much do you think Draisaitl hates how his contracts have gone? Just with the way him signing when the cap wasn't going up this much, but that's a whole other conversation. For me,
well, did you hear what he said apparently last offseason to Kyle Bukauskas on the 32 Thoughts pod? They were at the media, like European media tour thing. And I don't know I forget what he said they were talking about. There was something about money, and he literally turned and he's like, they know that I took less money than I could have on the deal. Like that's literally what he turned and said to him. He's like, I gave them like a bit of a discount for sure. Like something like that. I don't know what he said, but like he knows it, dude. And that was last season before the cap even went up. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
For me, looking at the McDavid one though, dude, I'm like 99.99% sure he's staying, dude. I don't think there's a shot in hell he's leaving, to be honest, man. Like, I just think it's like if he was to leave, he's gonna really tarnish. I think him at this point in his career, I think would be better for him to go to another Stanley Cup Finals and lose with the Oilers than him to go into the contract unsigned and then leave the Oilers at the end of the year or leave them via trade. I just think that fan base And I think a lot of other, and not only that fan base, but a lot of other people that are like fans of other teams, like even you, like would your maybe opinion on McDavid as a player maybe change a bit if he was to do something like that? Like for me, my opinion would change for sure.
This is tough because I will be honest, like I kinda, yeah.
For
And I
me,
feel like, go ahead, go ahead.
for me, I don't know if you're a basketball fan, but I would almost like, of course, it would depend what team he would go to, but it would almost be like a Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City Thunder thing. Because basically, the Thunder, they were very good, went to the Western Conference Finals, couldn't win, and then Kevin Durant, after being an MVP, like left and went and joined the Golden State Warriors, right? Like, and everybody in the NBA hated Kevin Durant. They called him the Snake. Like everybody hated him for a very long time. I think it would be similar with McDavid.
Okay, I will answer that question about the that situation with the Oilers. But the one thing I will say, is it different with Kawhi because you guys won?
Yeah, it's different, but with Kawhi because we won, and the other thing was going in. You always knew it was a 1 year deal. Like it was a 1 year thing, right? Like going
Yeah,
in,
and he
you always
was
knew
traded there.
it was
Like,
a
you know
one
what
year
I mean?
thing. He went
Okay,
he
no,
went home
yeah.
too. Like
Yeah, that's fair enough. And I mean, like he helped you reach the pinnacle. So I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of hard to like kind of hate on that. And it's like, who even really knows if he honestly really wanted to be there in the first place, and it just ended up like turning out really well, right? So I mean, you can't really hate him for that. Maybe he was like seriously like considering like, fuck, we just won. Like maybe I should stay. Like you got to think like he's playing that deep in the playoffs. Like he's not probably not thinking about the future that much, right? So it is kind of a short time to like make a decision on that. So I'm always curious. Like I don't really like basketball that much to be honest, but like I'm always curious to hear like Raptors fans' take on that, just considering like it's a situation that happens with players in sports, but like you won, so like is it kind of different? You know what I mean? Um, Getting back to your point before with if McDavid like just played the season, maybe they made the cup and he walked. Um, the one thing I will say is like people got to realize like, dude, he finished like I know he didn't win, but he finished second, dude. Like where else is he going where it's like it's a
yeah.
better opportunity? I'm not saying if he went to another team, that team wouldn't be a better roster than what he would be on Edmonton, but it's like he's literally that close to reaching the pinnacle. It could definitely happen in the next couple of years. Like even if they don't even make the cup final this year, it's like it could happen the year after. Like they have a long window with if Draisaitl and McDavid are there long term. I would think it's scummy if he did it, but the one thing I will say is that I didn't think like the whole Johnny Gaudreau thing was scummy, and I'm really sorry to bring it up because I don't know. I genuinely thought that he like was undecided, and it's like when I look at the Tavares thing as well. Like I hate the Leafs, but it's like, what if he just really doesn't know and it's like literally a last second decision. Like I get it's like you could tell them that before there's like a trade you at the deadline. Like I understand that, but it's like I also think about that side of it too, you know? And it's like maybe he does want to play somewhere else and you could be like I'm not coming back, but I just wonder if some of these guys really don't know.
See, I think for him, it's really just the fact that like he he wants a summer to reflect. Like he wants some time to reflect, right? It's like within the last 2 years, man. Like he's probably been through. He's played so late in the season already with like going to the cup finals, right? It's like he probably I could see it where it's like it's taking this long just because it's like you're going into an Olympic year first of all as well, right? Which is like makes it even more hectic. And then he's coming off 2 pretty hectic years with the way it's played out for him. Like I could literally see it where it's like, man, this guy goes up to Muskoka. This guy went up to Muskoka at the end of the year, like turned his cell phone off and just sat on a dock 24 hours a day and didn't even look at his phone. You know what I mean? Like would it surprise you if it can't? Would it surprise you if he signed during training camp and then it just came out that like it was really like, yeah, he just wanted his summer off and really to just refresh mentally? Like that would not surprise me whatsoever. I'm convinced he's staying. Contract wise, what did you say? 16 by 4?
I said 16 and a half just because I said I think Kaprizov's getting 15. like before him, and that might up the number a tiny bit. If not, like if it was an 8-year deal, I think it'd be a lot more. But I think he probably just wants to see the cap go up a bit, and he's like 32. He could sign another like whatever amount of year deal he wants, probably. But yeah.
I'm gonna go 15 and a half. I'm gonna go 15 to 15 and a half for 2 years.
Wow. That's interesting.
I just think it's like it gives them that flexibility where it's like, okay, if the Oilers do lose, like if they can't get it done this year or the 2 years after, like that's 3 more years, right? It's like you can kind of at that point, if he was to leave, it's like depending on what the state of the team looks like, right? Like I don't think it would be as much betrayal where it's like I could see 4 years as well. I just think 4 years though, like for him, it's like he might be looking at that where it's like it's a bit too long, and it's like, does he want to maybe really be going to another team in his 30s, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Maybe it could be a little bit shorter. I just I was more thinking like the 2 years, like, is he going to want to deal with this, like this kind of situation again in 2 years? Like that's short of a time. I think people don't really understand too. Like his wife opened up a bar in Edmonton like last year. Like I'm not really that convinced like he's going to like she has a career too, right? Like
they
like some NHL wives, I mean, they're kind of stay-at-home moms and they do their thing. Like why not? But she's got her own career too, right? Like she does like art design as well. I'm pretty sure she has a bar. So I mean, it's not just like as much as Connor's making like more popular and making more money. Like it's not just about him, right? It's about his personal relationship as well. So that there when that happened, I was like, oh my god, he's not leaving. Like a year ago when I heard that, I was like, he's not leaving. There's no chance.
She designed their whole house too, and they fully custom built it. Like it's like they really do have built up their life in Edmonton, right? It's like. I'm pretty convinced he's staying for at least 2 more years, if not longer. Overall, though, that's going to kind of wrap up today's episode. Mark, I believe we got 2 more episodes this season of these deep dives, and then we'll be going into season 3 and doing a season kickoff show early October. That's going to be. So for everybody tuning in right now, thanks for tuning in, and keep an eye out for more podcasts coming up.